Hello, great friends. It's a big pleasure to come your way once again. This is Onyekachi Favour, and this is Marriage and Relationship Matters with Onyekachi Favour. Today, I want to talk about another very important aspect of marriage, and that is sex in marriage. Sex in marriage. Of late, I heard the story of a pastor's wife that was sleeping with her brother-in-law. She was actually sleeping with her husband's younger brother. And somehow, the husband was alerted, and the husband walked into the hotel room while his wife was in the act with his younger brother. Such happened, and it is in the public domain. Apparently, you must have heard of it. In the same way, in the same vein, I also saw another woman. This time around, she is the type that covers her head. She is in a pruder. She came up publicly to confess that her two children do not belong to her husband. Her two children, the first one belongs to her father-in-law, and the younger one belongs to her brother-in-law. In other words, the father of her husband impregnated her for the first child, and then the husband's younger brother impregnated her for the second child. This is why we must talk about sex, because it is obvious from the sacred temple to the holy places, things are happening. All right? In this video, I want to look at sexual drive among couples. I just want you to give me time. Let's look at sexual drives, reinventing your sexual life, and then we can also look at the place of grace. All right? Here we flow. Why sex in marriage? Sex is a gift of God to couples. Sex is a gift from God to couple when it is used within the context how God has proposed it. All right? So, it is for bonding. You bond in sex. You move, you become intimate as a couple. You move from attraction to attachment when it is rightly used. It's for pleasure. It's for pleasure. It's for procreation. Sex is for procreation. Sex relieves stress. You heard me well. Sex relieves stress. In each round of sex, 400 million of cells moves out of the body of the man to the woman. 400 million cells. Medical officers told us that it's equivalent to a pint of blood that leaves the body of a man into his wife. And so it makes the man relax, weak, sleep, and wake up refreshed. It has both psychological and emotional healing among other areas of life. That is one thing to know about it. Another thing you know about it is sexual area is one of the prone areas into temptation. No matter who you are, the anointing does not cover that. Sexual area is another area prone for temptation. It doesn't matter who the person is, where the person is. As long as you are not a God-made eunuch, it is one area where people are prone to temptation. Hear these alarming statistics. I had these alarming statistics, and it marveled me that research was conducted, research was carried out among couples, and it was discovered that 80% of couples who were married between 8 to 10 years, 80% of couples that got married, that were married between 8 to 10 years, they were found out to have cheated, either each of the couple or both couples. That statistics is alarming. This is why we must talk about sex in marriage. We are looking at sexual intimacy in marriage. In the prelude, I have highlighted some of the reasons why we must engage in healthy sex in marriage relationship. I want to go straight now and talk about sexual drive in marriage relationship among couples. Among couples, let's look at the drive. The drive in sex is influenced by certain factors that we need to know. Let me just add this right away. Nobody succeeds beyond the level of knowledge you have about a particular thing. No one succeeds beyond the level. If your marriage must work, you must have good knowledge about what makes marriage to work. If you must enjoy your sexual life as God planned and intended it to be, so that brings us to sex is to be enjoyed, not to be endured. And it is enjoyed when it is mutually agreed upon by the couple involved. But when a couple forces it on the other, it becomes a domestic rape. So certain fundamental knowledge needs to be gained for one to enjoy healthy sexual life. All right? So talking about sexual drive, it varies with age. That's the first point I want to talk about now. It varies with age. All right? You have the national research carried out, and it was discovered that couples below 30, let's say 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, couples between from 20 to 30 can have up to 109 sex per year. Yes. So that they can have up to 109 sexual period in a year. And whereas when we have 40 plus, those 40 plus is about 70 times per year. So the other one was 109 times per year. So this is about 40. So this in 40 years and 40 plus, 40, 50, and is about 70 times per year. Whereas those within the age brackets of 52 plus is around 52 times per year. Anyway, this is just on the average. This is on the average, but like every other statistics, you know that the exceptional also holds. You have those who are exceptional rules and can be abnormally high or exceptionally high or exceptionally low. Okay, so it's important that you know. So when you are 50 years, you don't expect your sexual life to be as that of people who are within their 30s and 40s. And this is now where comparison now can destroy oneself sexual life in marriage. When you are watching maybe some of the things have been shown, you don't understand their age brackets. You don't have the same energy they have. So with age, it declines. The age gradually, the urge and the drive wanes and diminishes. That is now why we must talk about the law of diminishing returns. Now, the next thing you need to know that drives sex is personality wiring. I have mentioned it that we are wired differently. All right, and here with my picture again, this is a picture of the brain of a man. You can see that imaginary line in the middle. The brain of a man is divided into two halves, one to the right, another to the left, telling you that we are wired differently. And I mentioned earlier in a previous program that we are so wired that every human being makes use of one aspect of the organ higher than the other. Every organ of the body that is two, one functions better than the other. They don't function at the same frequency. You have two hands. The right-handed person or left-handed person is a consequence of what and the one you make use of more. So now in marriage, the way we are wired, one person is more aggressive than the other. There is no law that says it's the woman that's more aggressive or the man, but the way it works is that one person among the couple is understood to be more aggressive than the other. Now, rewind. I said knowledge is required. This knowledge is important. So when A man, so the person who is more aggressively wired, the man tend to make more demand for sex in the marriage more than the other. If it is a woman, for instance, in our culture, that woman will be mistaken to be a whore, to be a call girl. Do you understand? And our culture does not permit that, okay, the woman will be going to the man every day. It was like, what is wrong with you? And the person who is more passively wired tend to appear holier than the other, more pious. Carried himself is like, oh, I'm purer and whatever. Please, I want to debunk that mindset. It's important you understand that if your spouse is more aggressively wired, that does not mean you are holier than him or you are holier than her. That does not mean that she has a problem or he has a problem. But I just want you to understand this is one area that causes problem in marriage, where one party is always making demand for sex more than the other. And the other was like, what is wrong with you? Nothing is wrong with him or her. She is wired that way. And you need this understanding. You need to sit down to communicate. You need to have knowledge that, look, it is not his or her doing, but the way he or she is wired. Then you can know how to handle it. Yes, you know how to handle it. Because as long as you understand that it is not abnormal, then you can now sit down to work it out. All right? So, the one who is more aggressive wired will tend to have more sex maybe more than an evening or whatever. But the other one is like, oh, once or twice is okay for the week. But you have to come to a point, rather. You have to come to a point where you now look, I have to help my partner. After a while of understanding, what happens is that both of you will now begin to come to the middle. The one who was initially passively wired, with time begin to pick up. And the one that is so aggressively wired, with time begin to mellow down. And by the time you come to that middle, you will discover that bonding becomes very, very great. You become more intimate, more attached to yourself, and get better out of that marriage relationship. But as long as you do not have this understanding, you will definitely think that you are the standard. The more aggressive persons then begin to wonder, why can't this person understand? I just want to let you know that he or she, your partner, is not wired the way you are wired. So you need to deal with that person with understanding. You need to sit down to talk it out. It's like the way I am talking to you now is like I am the more aggressive. So it's like you need to understand with me. So you can defer your urge. If you want to, supposed to have done it 5 times, you can bring it down to 3. And then the other one that's supposed to have preferred 1 or 2 times can scale it up to 2. Let me leave this one and move to the next one. Another thing that comes to play fully when it comes to sexual drive is the sexual hormones. Sexual hormones. Like I told you, we have body organs. There are organs in the body, sexual organs. There are this body hormone that is secreted and then pushes the drive. In the male and in the female, the hormones are different. In the female, the sexual hormone is basically estrogen. Estrogen is the name of the sexual hormone in the female. The second one is progesterone. So, whereas in the male, like it is the testosterone. These are the hormones that drive. So whatever affects this hormone in the body of either the female or the male will affect the sexual drive of that particular person. I repeat, whatever affects the estrogen in the female will affect her sexual appetite, and whatever affects the testosterone in the man will affect his sexual urge. So it's important that we know the functionality of these hormones in the man or in the woman. Whereas in the man, it is visually stimulated. So what the man sees stimulates this hormone. And this is why you tend to see so many sexually provocative dressing around, it is just to provoke the man, attract the man's attention, and whatever attracts the man's attention too much will bring out the cash from the man's pocket. That is the secret. You see people advertising, whatever they want to advertise, tubers of yam or cassava, then it will be, then you will see a woman holding the cassava or the yam and who is provocatively dressed. What happened is that when the man sees the woman holding the yam or cassava, he sees beyond the cassava and sees the woman. So it was that buying that yam or cassava is linking him to that particular woman. So that is the marketing strategy why you see those things all around. And in the other vein, a woman is stimulated by sweet words and some touches. Sweet words on one hand, touches on the other hand, and there are about 7 places you can touch a woman and she will just give in like a pack of cards. But that is not for our discussion today. That will be for some other times. All right? So let me go further. We also have the aspect of emotions, the emotions and the psychology. You see, we are basically emotional being. Whatever affects our emotion affects our being totally. Whatever affects the state of the man's mind and his emotion will affect his sexual drive. As a matter of fact, the number 1 sexual organ in both male and female is the mind. You heard me correctly. The number 1 sexual organ for a man and a woman is the state of his mind, is the mind. So it begins from the mind. It begins from the mind. So let me just tell you how it works before I move further now. Like I said, it begins to man. A man is visually stimulated and a woman is touch or words stimulated. All right? So, and somebody described it this way. Maybe this can help somebody. You might know it, but there is no harm, no refreshing your mind again. The man is described to function as a switch bulb. When you go to your switch and put on a light bulb, it comes alive immediately. So it simply means that when a man visually sights his spec, let me put it that way, he is triggered. He is, aroused sexually instantly, unlike the woman. So knowledge of this will help also. Unlike the woman, a woman is not aroused instantly. For a woman to be stimulated and aroused sexually, it takes longer time than the man. So this is now where some couples have problem that they complain that their wives deny them sex. How did you approach your woman? A woman is not instantly stimulated. Rather, a woman is gradually stimulated. The illustration for a woman is like a pressing iron. A pressing iron. If you plug an iron, a pressing iron to the socket and put it on and touch the bottom, the face of the iron, it is not hot. It does not get hot instantly. It is plugged. It takes time to gain heat. By the time the surface of the iron becomes hot, even when you remove the plug, the iron will remain hot. This is how a woman functions. It takes time for you to get her into that mood. But listen to me, when you succeed in getting her into that mood, you will definitely run. When you unplug, she will still be hot like that. So what does that imply? Like we used to say jovially, that when you are looking for visa, you want to go to your wife's embassy to look for visa to go to her Jerusalem, you apply for the visa earlier in the day. You can do an SMS. Hello, honey, how are you doing? It's a honey day today. Hello, honey, H-O-N-E-Y. It's a honey day, H-O-R-N-Y. It's a honey day today. She will just reply, I don't have your time, please. She will laugh, but listen to me, you have sowed the seed. And you will reap bountiful harvest later that day when you come back or when she comes back. So please, it's important we have that knowledge and that understanding, and then you don't just think that when you are stimulated instantly, your spouse is also stimulated. It's important we communicate. I don't know if we have talked about communication. It's important we communicate. Any couple that can communicate, then they can weather every storm. They can get at that. So when you communicate, the body, the system, the feelings of your partner, and then you know how to accommodate the strength of your partner and the weaknesses when it comes to this area of sex. Look, sex can be very good when both of you mutually reach the point of agreement. All right? If time permits me here, we'll talk about what happens when somebody is in mood and the other person is not in mood. It can be worked out. Summarily, it is just control. It's control. Okay, let me just continue. Let me talk about the next one, right? The next one is grief. Grief. The thing that affects sexual drive is grief. When somebody is expressing sorrow due to a loss of a valuable, treasured item or treasured one, a loved one, and somebody is in grief, the sexual appetite dries up, or it's not there. It dies until that person comes out of the grieving mood. So it's important you understand with your spouse. Okay, physical health condition. When a person is not well, certain sicknesses like blood pressure, high blood pressure, and diabetes can affect the sexual drive of somebody. So it's important you know the state of the health of your partner. And certain medication like sedations and sleeping pills can affect the sexual drive. Stress can affect the sexual drive of a man or a woman. So when your spouse has a stressful day or stressful season and then you are in the mood, it's important you understand that stress cannot go together with sexual drive. All right. Let me also mention here, circumcision in female badly affects the sexual drive of such a woman. Any woman that was circumcised, either as an adult or when she's a baby, when you talk about circumcision, it is the clitoris, the stimulant for sexual urge that is cut off. In the Oriental, in African culture, our forefathers, our parents do that to prevent their daughters from being promiscuous. That was their intention. By the time that person holds on to that and gets to the adulthood and gets married, the sexual urge is not there again anymore. So circumcision in female, so it's important you talk about it. If you were circumcised, you discuss it with your spouse and your spouse know that having been circumcised, he should not expect you to have the drive like somebody else who is not circumcised. Pregnancy and childbirth can also affect the drive. All these are some things. What do we do? Control. What do we do? Regulation. Right? The Holy Book, the sacred book, the book of Proverbs, chapter 25, verse 28 says, whoever has no rule over his own spirit is like a city broken down and without walls. Whoever that has no rule over his spirit, he said, is like a city broken down and without wall. That means we are expected to have rule over our own spirit. We are expected under God by His grace to have control. That is why I said there must be regulation. You must be able to control the urge, to accommodate the weakness of your spouse. The person who is aggressive should exercise a little control. If you are supposed, for instance, your drive and your aggressiveness makes you to want it 5 times in a day or in a week, control and regulation will make you to bring it down to 3. Whereas the one that is passive, who is not as aggressive as a partner, as I'm talking to you, to save your marriage, you have to stimulate yourself, stimulate your mind. and know that, look, it's more or less statutory. That, okay, so that, I should feed my spouse well. When you are well fed, you are not tempted to steal food outside, except in the case of greediness and covetousness. So, at this point in time, I want to begin to draw the curtain and pray for you. Like the great apostle Paul, he said, he said he went to God. He said he went to God to remove, the thorn in his flesh, his weak point. And God said, no, that my grace is sufficient for you. But the part I'm looking for is where he said my strength is made perfect in your weakness. God's strength is made perfect in man's weakness. Yes, God's strength is made perfect in man's weakness. There is nothing to dodge, to be shy about. Take yourself plain, transparent, naked, and tell God, I need grace in this area. I need grace in this area. Look, your marriage will work better when there is understanding. Understanding also in this aspect of sex and sexualities. All right, I want to draw the curtain here. I remain Onyekachi Favour, mind you. I am a marriage mentor and a relationship coach, and I am here available for you as an individual, as a couple, even religious organization. I can talk to your people. I can also help train your marriage committee members. They are good already. They can become better. Like the saying goes, 2 heads are better than one. Now, 2 good heads are better than one. Let us come, rub minds together. Let us join our curriculum and get a better curriculum that is better, robust, and more rich. And then let your people be greatly blessed in matters like this and many more. All right, I believe you got something today. Our telephone is there on the screen for contacts, and other medium for contact are there. So check our social media platforms for more of our messages in this matter and other related matter. Till I come your way some other time, I am yours, beloved. Keep rising, keep shining. I love you. Thank you.